city. Really, our commercial permitting process is going to be the same, and now we're just going to provide some structure for it. We're going to allow you the opportunity. Did everybody get a handout? The front and back handout? If you did not, just raise your hand and we'll make sure you get a copy. Okay, last fall the mayor asked me, he said, Ed, we keep getting all these issues at the end of these projects. So how can what's going on at the beginning of these projects that we're starting to have some issues bubble up toward the end of the projects? I said, sir, I don't know, but we'll run it down, we'll figure it out, and we'll get back to you. So what he wants to do is he wants to head off issues before they become problems. And that's really our whole intent of this. Is to make sure that you all get in your permitting process what you all desire, which we think is accuracy and speed, and to be able to get your plans and to get all your stuff through the system so that you can start your construction on your projects through completion, ultimately to get to your CO. In addition to that, there are certain requirements that the city has to have, and this structured and disciplined process will help us get what you want and what we need simultaneously at the same time earlier in the project so that we're not coming to the end and Mayor getting a lot of calls and trying to figure things out when we should have had things covered at the beginning. The process that you have in front of you, like I said, is actually already the process. All we're doing is defining some more things to you. We're putting a little bit more structure into it so that you know definitively what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. We know definitively what we're allowed to let you do as you move forward on your projects. We'll have about a month grace period. Some of the dates, some of the fees in here we'll talk about. Those will become effective at the appropriate times. But this process, particularly with the dates and some of the requirements that you're going to need to turn in during your projects, will become effective on the 1st of May of this year. Some of the fees that will be associated with it will come at the appropriate time if and when City Council approves those. The thing you have in your hand, you will be given, every time you drop off a set of plans, you will be given one of these. So when you're given this is your guide to help you walk step by step from beginning to end of your entire project. The date down on the bottom, what we don't want you to do is keep the very first version of this because it may change over time. So literally every time you come with a set of projects, you will get the most current version that we have. So if you're producing one that's got draft date of today's date or yesterday's date and you say, well, this is what I'm going off of, we're going to say, well, this is the most current one and this is what the most current says. So please help us out with that. We do the same thing. We'll have plans set aside and we keep reaching back to things that are no longer valid. So if we can, let's just keep to date with that. So that's the first side and the back side. The first side just kind of walks you through step by step. You'll come to parts in your process where it'll say go to step 1 on the reverse. So you go to step 1 on the reverse and it'll tell you exactly what you have to do for that step. And it's broken down in a variety of manners. So step 1 will take you through the pre-development and the application process. Step 2 will take you through the construction process. And step 3 will take you through the final inspection and final CO inspections process. Okay, the first start, which we'll always recommend to you all, is you have a pre-development meeting. It's not mandatory, it's optional, but it will hopefully, especially on much larger projects, will help you get a lot of your questions answered in advance. We hold those routinely. We wish that we could do more, or we wish we did more, not that we could do more. If you all want a pre-development meeting, we will set aside time and you will be able to meet with whatever part of our plan review department that you want to meet with. All the folks behind me are the folks that meet every Thursday morning. Part of our process, we're going to start the process Wednesday afternoon. But the fire department, we have our engineering department, inspections, planning, our partners from CWL every week gather together to review your plans to make sure that you're able to go forward in the most expeditious manner in order to complete your projects. The application and plans, please complete a full application and make sure you turn it in on time. Right now, it's close of business on Wednesday, which basically means at 4:49 you can walk in the office, you can hand them a set of plans on Wednesday afternoon, and they will be reviewed on Thursday morning. That's not what we've concluded to be the best practice and the best way for our city to do business. So we're going to move that to Tuesday afternoon. And part of us moving it to Tuesday afternoon is we're actually going to start a review process on Wednesday afternoon as opposed to Thursday morning. So 4 o'clock Tuesday, please have your plans in. They're not in by there, we'll gladly accept them, but we're going to put them in a container that says plans to be reviewed for next week, not plans to be reviewed for the current week. So this is part of our structure and part of our discipline. So please be there by 4 o'clock with your plans. If there's any MAPC approval on the project, please do all that paperwork and that process prior to submitting your plans to our planning department. On the back side, if you go, this just tells you what the requirements are for planning, specifically for city water and light, engineering, our inspections department, and our fire department. So all that on the back side just tells you, just use it like a checklist. On the very first line, I think it tells you, you need to have 3 hard copies, cover only wet stamped, plus your digital PDF. If you only have 2 hard copies, you're going to be going to the next week. Just the way we got to have it. So please bring 3 hard copies plus your PDF with the wet stamp on the front page. Just use that as a checklist. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. If you have any questions, every single phone number of every department is there right in front of you. Just pick up the phone and call and ask your question. I'll tell you yes, no, it's required, not required. If it's required, just produce it when you bring your appropriate plans. Okay, then you go to the plan review. So we'll collect all the plans. Tracy McGaha in her planning department on Wednesday morning. She will catalog them, she'll log them, she'll put them in sequence, she'll make sure all the application is filled out, she'll make sure all the requisite requirements of the plan review are in place. If they're not, she'll turn them back to you the next day. If they are, then she'll forward them to the fire department, which is going to start their review on Wednesday afternoon. That's why we have to have a Tuesday afternoon turn-in, so that Tracy can review them all and catalog them and get them in order so that they can actually be prepped and ready for the review process. That the fire marshal review is Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning at 8:30, the rest of the planning or the rest of the permit review team gets together and they actually go and they review them all. Hopefully by the end of the day, your plans will be approved and moved forward. After the review, 2 things will happen. You're going to get a call from the inspections department. They're either going to tell you, come and get your permit, or they're going to tell you, we're returning your plans. There are some things that you got to fix before we can put the approval on it and get them back to you. So that's what the phone call is going to entail. If you do get your permit, make sure your building and on-site plans approved and your fees are paid prior to coming and picking up your permit. If you have to have another review, make the changes that are required, resubmit them. Your first 2 will be free. Okay, so after you resubmit them, we'll review them again. Hopefully we'll get them stamped for approval. You'll come and pick up your permit. If we have to continue to review your plans for things that are not up to standard, on the 3rd and subsequent ones, we're going to just have to start charging a fee because it's taken our time and efforts from our departments to be able to continue to review plans that are not up to speed. One thing we're going to introduce is a temporary permit. I think the engineering department already has a grading permit. This is part of the city looking, how can we help you all move forward in your projects when you're ready to move forward a little bit in your projects. So we will now start issuing a footing and foundation permit as long as it's been approved by our chief building official. There will be a fee required, just like there is for a grading permit. We're also going to have a fee required for footing and foundation permits. So that's going to allow you to begin your work, although while you're still waiting for your additional requirements to be approved by the team. Once the plans are approved, you come and pick up your permit. If you have any questions prior to that, call inspections department. We try to lay it out, give you as many contact information points that we can. I think most of you know where our collections department is. It's just right down the hall and the main doors of the city hall. And you go, pay your fee, get your permit, you're ready to roll. So now after you get your permit, you may start construction. Okay? If you go back to the back side where it tells you what all your steps are, up on the right-hand corner, it tells you all change orders shall be submitted and approved prior to construction of the changed item. This has been a little bit of an issue for us in the past where our inspectors will show up and we're seeing construction that hasn't been approved. We're starting to see things that hasn't had a change order for it, and that has become a little bit of an issue, so we're just going to have to make sure we get those approved in advance. The construction area, you're going to have inspection requirements, fire department requirements, and engineering requirements. Also, we ask, and it's also required, that you have a current signed set of plans on site at all times for review. And anticipate that our inspectors, when they come and inspect, will be asking for that set of plans. Prior to the final CO, you got to submit all the engineering certification and architectural certification for special inspections. All right, if you have changes, it's really not a problem. Okay, if you do have changes while you're going through the process and you say, well, we want to change this and change that, just please submit a change order before you start that construction. Okay, so you submit your change order, goes back to our plan review department, to the appropriate department. They'll approve it, they'll work with you to get things through the system, and then once it's approved, it goes back into construction, and then you can proceed. Okay, if we show up on a work site and there's work being conducted that hasn't been permitted, then we're going to put a stop work order until all the change orders have been approved. Okay? So that's to help you in the long run. It's to help us in the long run to make sure that we're moving along this process in a orderly fashion. Value engineering. If you're doing value engineering, most of them, if not all of them, require a change order approval. So if you're value engineering, we should hear about that when you're doing the value engineering rather than after the fact when things have already been done. So please do that also. During the construction, if you're adding a fence or an outbuilding or something to your project that's not on your plans, that will also require a change order, and there's a permit fee required for those as well. Once construction is complete, it says see step 3 on reverse. So you turn it over to the back, you see step 3, and you just go through that process just like you would all the other previous processes. One small change that we're going to do is during our pre-CO final inspections, you're going to have all of our different folks from our inspections department will come and they will do your pre-certificate of occupancy inspection. Once you have all those inspections completed, then our fire department will show up. They will do their pre-CO final inspections and at the same time do their final CO inspection. So when the fire department leaves from those inspections, they're not going to come back for the final CO inspection. All the other departments will come. Does that make sense? So they're going to do both of theirs prior to the actual final CO inspection. Temporary COs. They may be issued on a case-by-case basis by the chief building official with conditions, expiration date, and a fee. Okay, so if you are asking for a temporary CO, we will put the conditions that are still required in order for you to get a CO. There will be an expiration date on that temporary CO. So if those things of the conditions of the temporary CO are not complete by the expiration date, your temporary CO will expire and you'll be there without a CO. Okay? And we're also proposing to the City Council that there be a fee associated with a temporary CO. All right, once your CO inspection has been completed, all your requirements have been completed, then you will be issued a final CO, and then you'll be ready for business. Okay, that's our ultimate goal, is to get you through this process from A to Z in the quickest and easiest way that you can, in addition for us to get the requirements that we need by law and by ordinance. Again, the process of this will be effective on the 1st of May. Any fees associated with any of the changes that we have or the current fees that we already have in place, those will take effect as soon as City Council either approves them or changes them or does whatever City Council is going to do with those. One other thing that we wanted to talk to you all about tonight is our special inspections. Okay, a lot of discussion about special inspections. Where does the city stand? What's required? What's not required? We're just going to kind of lay out a little bit tonight of what we're anticipating of how we're going to proceed. First and foremost, your first question should be, are special inspections required? If they are required, if they're not required, is all you do is submit a letter with your plans saying special inspections for this project are not required. Then you're done. If they are required, when you submit your plans, we ask that you, or we require that you submit a schedule of your special inspections with your plans for review. The next part is the owners or the registered design professional in charge are responsible for employing special inspectors. Okay, that comes straight out of the Chapter 17 of the AFPC, Volume 2. The schedule of special inspections, we're on step 2 down on the bottom. The schedule of special inspections shall be maintained and documented during construction. Reports must be provided to the chief building official as they are completed per the schedule. So we'll have the schedule. Once you complete a special inspection, sign off on that special inspection and you forward it to the chief building official. Special inspectors, including registered design professionals and or engineers, if qualified special inspectors, shall provide with the report documentation of their credentials. Again, that's just part of the requirements. We're not asking for that up front. We're just asking that you provide that throughout the process when the special inspections are completed. If special inspections have not been followed and documented according to the schedule, or when uncorrected discrepancies are brought to the attention of the chief building official, a stop work order will be issued until all the issues have been corrected. Okay? And then the final one is, after all final inspections have been completed, including special inspections and signed off by the registered design professional, a certificate of occupancy shall then be issued. Okay, so that's good. That is, and always has been, part of the process, and that is already in effect and has been. Okay, we also understand that some of you all would like to submit your plans and your application and everything online, and here's currently how our online status is. Our applications require a signature. So even though you complete everything online, you still have to print it, get everybody to sign it, either scan it or fax it, or however you get it to our planning department, or hand carry it. That's just currently how the system is set up, unfortunately. Plans. If your plan is a very large project, more than likely our system will not be able to accept it. Okay, so if your plan is small, and they typically work on our system, so you can submit your plans online. If the system will not accept it, or it's a large project, just call our planning department and they will work with you. They'll figure out a way to do it electronically. They'll figure out a way to help you to the best of their ability. We're talking about drop boxes. We're talking about a variety of ways for you individually as a company working with our planning department to be able to work around some of these limitations we have. We are currently working for a better solution for our online application. That's just going to take a little while for us to get to the best solution that we can get at. Okay? All right. That's rolled up, start to finish. Now, what are your questions? If you have any for the general audience, we have a microphone. if you can, this is being recorded. If you don't mind using the microphone, if you have a question, just let us know and we'll get you the best answer we can.
What is a special inspection?
What is a special inspection?
Yes.
The Air Force. The fire code requires special inspections typically on larger projects, commercial projects, and those are just certain inspections based on Chapter 17 that must be completed as determined by the design professional required for that project. Yes, sir. In the back row.
What's the timeline for the change order process through the city?
The timeline? That'll be depending on how big the change is. What kind of turnaround you guys anticipate on a change order?
Should be same as the original time to turn in plans. If the change orders are turned in by the 4 o'clock Tuesday, then they'll go on the following week's submittal or plan review.
Turn them in by Tuesday at 4. They'll be approved hopefully by Thursday. Yes, sir.
Would you explain the stamp on the cover sheet? You said the cover only has to be wet stamped. Is that just the one sheet, cover sheet?
That's correct.
Okay. If you're going to submit online, how do you get a wet stamp submitted online?
Earl?
Good question.
What's our current process for that?
Right now, if they submit online, we accept the stamps that are online because they stamp them when they come through. We'll probably go ahead and do that. If we see a problem, we'll let you know. But I think we'll just continue with the way we've been doing it for right now.
Okay. On the MEP sheets, we don't need a wet stamp on those to submit them?
It will require engineered signature, so the wet stamp is not required, Ray. Just
Okay.
as long as you've approved them before you turn them in,
Okay.
you sign
And they'll be
the cover
stamped
sheet.
and everything, but just not a wet stamp?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. How are you going to handle in-progress construction on May 1 when these changes come into effect? And do you see the special inspections being something that will be used for plumbing and mechanical and things of that in the future that require architecture inspections?
If there's currently projects going on, this process is really no different than the process we're actually running. As all this is a tool that we're going to be able to, that you'll be able to have in your hand to say, did I do A, B, C, and D before you engage with the city? When the city gets your stuff, we're going to say, did this individual do A, B, C, and D before we're able to move on with that project as well. So really this process is not any different than what we're already doing. As all it is being a little bit more codified than it was before. Regarding the special inspections, there's a whole schedule of the special inspections that are out there. So whatever is required for the special inspection per Chapter 17 will be required on any current or future projects. That answer your question?
Yes, I was just clarifying when you said it was the fire department.
Correct. Well, it's the fire code. It's not necessarily the fire department. It just happens to be through the AFPC. Yes.
What about demolition permit? Are we still doing that?
Yes. Mike?
Jonathan, you need to get him on the microphone because they won't hear it without it.
This is just kind of a follow-up to the question that was asked a minute ago about wet seals versus, I mean, I would think you would want all the drawings, by all the disciplines signed. Just maybe if you're asking for them to be those that can go through the electronic process, I know that you're not going to get a wet seal out of that. But, I mean, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical, fire protection, structure, I mean, all those need to be signed. You know, I mean, just a seal on that.
We will require a signature on those as well, it's just not necessarily a wet stamp.
Right.
I mean, it was wet at some point, of course,
Okay.
when it was
All right. I
signed.
just wanted to clarify that you did require signatures. Thank you.
Yeah, to follow up on that, it's the wet seal on the cover sheet alone doesn't really signify to me. Having a wet seal means it's legitimate. It was produced by this person. Just on the cover sheet kind of eliminates that idea. So it's either kind of an all or nothing thing for me. So maybe reconsider how we do that. As far as the wet seal on the cover sheet, I don't really see the purpose.